Hersnock the World Eater stood before us, the image of his massive body twisting and bubbling like hot wax as my mind struggled to comprehend what I was seeing. His lawyer strode beside him in her charcoal pencil skirt and heels, carrying a clipboard and pushing her glasses up with the end of a pen. Maybe it was just the harsh blue of the ethereal light, but her face seemed even sourer than I remembered. "So," she said, tapping impatiently on the clipboard with her pen, "the kidnappers are here." "Kidnappers," I said. "What on earth are you talking about?" "Not on Earth, on Netherworld," she said. "And you know exactly what I'm talking about." "I really don't," I said. The lawyer sighed. "Do you know what the punishment for kidnapping in the Netherworld is?" she asked. "I didn't kidnap anybody," I said. The lawyer looked as if she wanted to say something, but was interrupted by panting and the thud of heavy footsteps approaching from behind her. Frank and Teddy emerged panting from the darkness, followed shortly by Annie. "It's a trap," he yelled. "Do not listen to her." The lawyer wrinkled her nose at Frank and Teddy as if he were a piece of gum on the bottom of her shoe. "Of course it's a trap," she said, "but you're already here. That knowledge doesn't really do you much good now, does it?" "Can somebody please tell me what's going on?" I asked. "I only just got here, and I've already been betrayed and accused of kidnapping, and yet no one seems to see fit to actually explain anything to me." "Don't play dumb with me," the lawyer said. "If you didn't take your daughter Sarah, then who did?" "What do you mean, who did?" I said. "You did." "Yes, but after that somebody unauthorized removed her from Netherworld daycare." "What?" I said. "First you steal my daughter, then you lose her? Are you kidding me?" "Why is nobody paying attention to me?" said Frank and Teddy. "I know what's going on." The conversation stopped and we all turned to look at Frank and Teddy. "How do you know what's going on?" I said. "Your head is full of stuffing." "The stuffing is but insulation for a fierce and powerful mind," said Frank and Teddy, tapping on the side of his head with an enormous, fluffy paw. "Actually," said Satan, "we just told you that to make you feel better. It's really just stuffing all the way through." "Oh," said Frank and Teddy. "But I still know what's going on." "What is it, Frank and Teddy?" asked Miss Hatchetface. "It was Annie's plan all along," he said. We all turned to see that Annie had been silently backing away. She stopped. "Oh, come on," she said. "Don't you all look at me like that. I was doing what was best for everybody." "And what do you think is best for everybody?" Miss Hatchetface asked, practically boring a hole into Annie's skull with the heat from her gaze. "Every little girl wants to be a princess, don't they?" she said. "I just thought that maybe Sarah could stay down there as princess of the Netherworld and I could stay up top so that Hersnock didn't destroy the Earth." "But we already had a plan to stop Hersnock," I said. "Yeah," said Annie, "but that was before Hersnock found me down here. I had to compromise." "You brought an 8-page legal contract with you," Frank and Teddy said. "Oh," said Annie, "I didn't think you saw that." "Are you out of your mind?" I asked. "You're going to sell my daughter for your freedom?" "Don't be so melodramatic," Annie said. "She'd have a wonderful life here as the princess of the Netherworld." "I'm sure," I said. "That's why you're so keen to get back to Earth." "Ahem," the lawyer said. She removed her glasses and rubbed her eyes. "I hate to interrupt your version of a Netherworld Jerry Springer rerun," she said, "but the fact remains that somebody has kidnapped Princess Sarah and we cannot move forward with the coronation ceremony until she's found." "There's not going to be a coronation ceremony," I said. "Regardless, who the hell could have taken her?" "That's what I'm trying to tell you all," said Frank and Teddy. "I know where Sarah's gone." Frank and Teddy had surprised us once again, and we sat in silence as he explained what had happened. "Princess Sarah has escaped on her own volition," he said. The lawyer shook her head. "That seems awfully unlikely," she said. "Shush you," said Miss Hatchetface. She looked to Frank and Teddy. "How did she escape?" "She has learned the ways of satanic magic," he replied. "She simply opened a portal back to Earth." "That's it?" I said. "We're down here mucking around in the Netherworld and she's been back on Earth this whole time? Why wouldn't she come directly to me?" "She wanted to stop at Disneyland first." "Wait," said Miss Hatchetface. "Sarah was already back on Earth before we came down here?" "Yes." "And you knew about it?" "Of course," said Frank and Teddy. "Sarah is bonded to me. I am always aware of her location." "Why didn't you say anything?" Frank and Teddy shrugged. "You seem very excited to come to the Netherworld," he said. "I didn't want to ruin your vacation." "Excited?" I said. "We were terrified." "Is that not one of the many varieties of excitement?" "No, I mean, yes, but..." I sighed. Just forget about it. Larry was shaking his head. So I came down here with you lunatics for nothing? He said. Fantastic. Does anybody have a portal home? Hold on a moment, said the lawyer. What makes you think you're going home? Well, said Larry, you can either let us go or throw the lot of us in prison, but I don't think the latter would make for a very interesting plot. What? Nothing. A roar billowed forth from Hersnock, shaking the fabric of reality as it went through the netherworld air. The lawyer looked up at what I can only assume was Hersnock's face. You're sure, she said. Another loud growl came forth. Fine, the lawyer huffed. Hersnock says you can all go, including you, Annie, but only on the condition that Sarah return to the netherworld and fulfill her responsibilities as princess. Deal, said Satan. She's at Disneyland. Should we go and get her for you? Hold on a second, I said. I didn't agree to. Another loud growl. Hersnock says he'll go himself, the lawyer said. Clearly you all can't be trusted to accomplish anything. The air around us began to vibrate and swirl, coming alive with a monstrous cacophony. The ground shook and cracked and pieces began to break off and float in the air as if there was no gravity. Hersnock began to twist and distort into a spiral, growing smaller and finally disappearing with a surprisingly subdued pop. So is there a portal out of here, Larry asked. Yeah, said Annie, I'll take you guys. We resurfaced back in the walk-in cooler of Mei Mei's Chinese buffet just in time to frighten a waiter who was coming back from a pot of egg drop soup. Sorry, Satan said, shoving the kid out of the way and pushing open the door to the refrigerator. But we've got business to handle. We all followed suit, pushing our way out into the kitchen of the restaurant. We found the back door and managed to frighten yet another 2 waiters having a smoke break on our way out. So, said Annie, I guess this is where I leave you guys. Sorry about your daughter, Darren, but it really is the best thing for everyone involved. The best thing? I said. The best thing would be if you stuck your head up your... Whoa there, Darren, Satan said. Just let it go. Just let it go? Shh, said Satan, turning to me and giving me a wink with his right eye so that Annie couldn't see. Just let it go. I turned back to Annie. Just get out of my sight, I said. I never want to see you again. I'm sorry you feel that way right now, said Annie. Maybe later you'll change your mind. You're right, I said, when pigs fly. Pigs do fly in the netherworld. Just go away. Okay. Annie's image shimmered for a moment like a mirage, and then she disappeared with a small pop, just like her father had. I shook my head. Unbelievable, I said. Then turning back to Satan, I said, Hey Satan, what was that wink about? Don't you worry about that, Pablo, he said. I've got a secret plan. Oh God, not again, Miss Hatchetface said. Have you already forgotten how your last plan turned out? There was no last plan, Satan said. It's the same plan as before. It's still going. So it was part of your plan to waste our time in the netherworld for no apparent reason. It sure was, Satan said, winking at her. Please don't wink at me, Miss Hatchetface said. Does this plan involve me in any way? Said Larry. Not anymore, Satan said. Good, Larry replied. I'm going back to the goat dimension. You'll get my bill in the mail. I'll be adding a special idiot tax. You're going to be calling it a genius tax when my plan's out, said Satan. Uh-huh, said Larry, walking off. I'm sure. So what is this secret plan of yours, I asked. Don't be stupid, Reggie, he said. If I told you, it wouldn't be a secret anymore. Now let's go to Disneyland. Not to be a buzzkill, said Miss Hatchetface, but by now Hersnock is already there. How are we supposed to get there in time to do anything? Satan scratched at his goatee. Well, looks like we've been written into a corner, he said. What? Nothing. I'm the devil, for goodness sake, he said. You think I can't get us there right away? But last time we drove, I said. Well, that was a family road trip, Satan said. It was just for fun. I had a concussion, I replied. How is that supposed to be for fun? Concussions are plenty fun once you get used to them, Satan replied. Wait a second, I said. Is that why you can't remember my name? I don't know what you're talking about, Jerry, Satan said. Now come on, let's go to Disneyland. Satan snapped his fingers and a gate of purple flames sprang up out of the ground. Pretty cool, huh? Said Satan. You know I invented these, right? No, you didn't, said Miss Hatchetface. Shush, said Satan. Jerry doesn't know that. Satan patted me on the back. All right, Jerry, he said. There's a secret to these gates, so listen up. You've got to close your eyes and concentrate hard on where you're going, or the hellfire will burn you to a crisp. I looked at Satan and said, You're joking, right? Maybe, Satan said, and he shoved me into the gate. Traveling to hell and back had been like being sucked through a straw, but somehow this was even worse. My hands blew up like balloons to the point that my fingers looked like fat little sausages. My left foot grew to the size of a college textbook, and my right one shrank to the size of a mousetrap. A beard sprouted out of my face, turned gray, fell off, and came back as bright pink. I saw a huge vertical wall approaching, gray and immobile. I realized too late that it was actually a sidewalk, and I was falling. I fell face first into the sidewalk, and my nose began to fountain out blood. I pushed myself up to see Frank and Teddy, Satan, and Miss Hatchetface had already arrived. "Geez, what took you so long, Jerry?" Satan said. "Did you get lost or something?" I wiped the blood off my nose and rubbed my hand clean on my pants. "Is it broken?" I asked. "Looks like it," Satan said, "but I like it better this way. Gives you a rugged sort of look, like a boxer or a homeless person." I felt gingerly at my nose, and a bolt of pain shot through my forehead like an arrow. "Can you fix it?" I asked. "Of course I can," said Satan. "I was actually talking to Miss Hatchetface," I said. "Nonsense," Satan said, waving me off and seizing my face with both hands. "I have a medical degree." "For humans?" I asked, as Satan poked and prodded my face. "Let's not worry about trivialities," Satan said. He took a step back and snapped his fingers, and I felt a sensation like being smacked in the face by a frying pan. "Oh no," Satan said, "that doesn't look good at all." "What?" I said. "What did you do to my nose?" "See for yourself," said Satan, snapping his fingers and conjuring a mirror out of thin air. I prepared myself for the worst as he held it up to my face. "I don't get it," I said. "It looks exactly the same as it did before." "Exactly," Satan said. "You're a jerk," I said. I tossed the mirror and Satan snapped his fingers again, disappearing it before it hit the ground. "I like your nose," Miss Hatchetface said. "It's distinctive." "What a diplomatic way to put it," Satan said. "Now come on, we've got to get going. This is the final phase of my plan, and we've got no time to waste." We made our way up to the gates of Disney World to see that the ticket booth was being worked by Hersnock, the giant blue demon with the axe in his head. Hey, Hersnock," I said. "It's good to see you again." He huffed out his ball-like nostrils and pointed towards the park. "Hersnock is already here," he said. "You'd better hurry." I gazed towards the park and saw that Hersnock had indeed already arrived. Above him in the sky was a rippling black fissure from which storm clouds were pouring out, canvassing the sky in an endless dull gray curtain. My chest burned with effort as I sprinted through the gates of the park and towards Hersnock the World Eater, hoping that I was not too late to save my daughter. I could hear the others close at my heels as I closed in. The mighty netherworld beast unleashed a colossal roar and the ground of the park shook beneath my feet, nearly sending me headlong into the pavement. I passed people fleeing the other way, but as I got closer I could see there was a crowd gathered around the beast. The mob was composed of demons and human children, all facing towards Hersnock and swaying back and forth while chanting something I could not make out. Suddenly, I felt myself being yanked back, and I hit my head hard on the pavement as I went down. "Ouch," said Satan, looking down at me. "That looked like it hurt. Sorry about that." "What the hell is wrong with you?" I said. "Lots of things," Satan said, "but that's not important right now, just like you." "What are you talking about?" I said. I tried to sit up, but Satan pushed me gently back to the ground with one of his hooves. "Parents aren't needed for this," he said. "Only the kids." "Oh my God," Miss Hatchetface said. "You're a genius." "Of course I am," Satan said. "That's why everyone thinks I'm insane. I'm so long-sighted that to everybody else my actions don't make any sense at all." "Can somebody please explain what's going on?" I said, "and can you please take your hoof off my chest?" "Pro tip for you, Jordan," Satan said. "Only ask for one favor at a time." "It's the children," said Miss Hatchetface. "They're fighting Hersnock." I shoved Satan's hoof off my chest and he stuck out his arms as he nearly lost his balance. I stood up and rubbed my head. "How's that?" I asked. "They're only kids." "But kids are special, don't you see?" said Satan. "Netherworld beings feed on hatred, void, and misery, and children are the antithesis of that. They are the greatest natural resource of happiness and love in the world, and Disneyland is the perfect conduit for that joy. It's a magical place where imagination is more important than reality, and all of that love, all of that joy is sapping Hersnock's power away." "Wow," I said, "that's amazing. What are they chanting?" "The theme song from Barney the Purple Dinosaur," Satan replied. "Oh," I said, "that's fitting, I guess." Hersnock let out another reality-shaking bellow, and the crack in the sky above him widened into a colossal gaping fissure. Lightning bolted out, and the wind picked up, whirling around Hersnock in the crowd in a howling maelstrom. Hersnock's head began to distort, stretching upwards towards the fissure. Slowly, he was being sucked in. Finally, with a resounding clap of thunder, Hersnock disappeared. I said. I scratched my head. Huh? Said Satan. I just saved your world from being eaten, and the best you can muster up is a huh? What? I said. No, it's great and all. It's just, after everything that's happened, I mean, it just feels like a little anticlimactic is all. You were hoping for some great final battle or something, Satan said, because we can call Hersnock back up here and you can fight him, but your world gets eaten if you lose. No, it's okay, I said. This ending is good enough for me. Satan grinned. That's what I thought, he said. I should go find Sarah, I said. No need, said Satan. Here she comes right now. I squinted into the distance, but I could see no sign of Sarah. The only thing coming towards me was a colossal reptilian demon that was covered in spikes and ran on 2 legs. Its head was the ugliest thing I'd ever seen. Its dark red skin was wrinkled up like old, cheap leather. Its milky yellow eyes bobbed around on 2 antennae. And at the very top, no, it couldn't be. At the very top was Sarah. The beast approached and lowered its head, and Sarah alighted next to me. Hi, Dad, she grinned. It's good to see you again. It's good to see you too, I said. I picked her up and looked at her, before pulling her in tight for the biggest hug of her life. I love you, Dad, she said. And I love you too, I replied. Dad, she said. Yes? You're squeezing me to death. Just a moment more. I've really got to pee, though. Okay, I said. I let her down. So the adventure's over, Sarah asked. It looks that way, I said. What do we do now? I scratched my head. Let's let Frank and Teddy decide, I said. We all turned to Frank and Teddy and stared at him expectantly. He paused for a moment, placing his enormous, fluffy paw up to his chin and thought. Let's ride all the rides, he boomed. I smiled and said, okay. I hope you all enjoyed this little series, and by little I mean like a pretty big series. This is the final installment. I hope you enjoyed it. It's definitely been a very fun read. Thank you to lifeisstrangemetoo for letting me read it and narrate it. I've been reading the comments on this last story, and he will actually be releasing a fully fledged book with many, many, many more chapters. So keep your eye out for that. Head on over to Reddit and look up lifeisstrangemetoo, and maybe we can find some updates on when it's coming out, if you don't quite want this to end. I thank you guys for staying with me for this series. It's been a pleasure, and I look forward to seeing you guys in my next videos.